Hey everybody, thanks for joining me today. This is Carl Hughes, and today I'm going to be looking at some of the AI writing software that's out there. I actually did a really quick rundown using GPT-3 and one of the tools that integrates with it. Maybe this was a few months ago, almost a year ago now. And I wanted to kind of come back because the industry has gotten more crowded. It's gotten a lot more interesting. There's a lot of options out there now. And so what I'm going to be doing today is comparing several of the more popular AI writing tools out there about how they do with writing technical content. And that's what we do at Draft.dev. So I figured it would be a good test of ourselves, but also where the industry and where technology might be taking us in the future. So I'll kind of get into this, but as we go through each tool, I'm going to be trying to create some technical blog content or have it assist me in creating technical blog content based on certain prompts and topics that I've got in mind. I guess the caveat here is that I don't know exactly what all these tools are going to be capable of, and so we may have to adjust the evaluation method for each one. But I'm really excited about trying these out and seeing how this goes. So here's our first tool, Copy.ai. Now, when you get into Copy.ai, the first thing you've got to do is pick a project title and relevant website. That's optional, it sounds like. So I'm gonna just call this technical blog posts. Create this project. What's my product called? Let's see. So my product. It's interesting. I don't really have a product, but maybe this is for. Oh, this is. I see. This is for product descriptions. This is what it wants me to do. Let's see if we can. Blog conclusion. Blog ideas. Okay, here we go. So we just need to change the type of tool that we're doing. So it's probably got these. I'm assuming it's like kind of configured these different tools. Maybe what we'll do then is we'll start with a blog title. The first one I'm going to be doing. I'm going to pull this out of here. First thing I'm going to be doing is a roundup. So we have several types of content we do for clients, and one of them is a roundup, which is like a comparison of a bunch of different tools. In this case, I'm going to do best continuous integration tools. Now, if I asked a freelance non-software development writer to write about this, they would struggle. They would have to do a lot of research to figure out what continuous integration is and how it works. And so I'm assuming the AI copywriters are going to have trouble with this. So Copy.ai, let's see how you do. Let's see. And then what's the blog about? In this roundup, we'd like to compare 10 or more of the most popular continuous integration tools available. In the end, we'd like to help software developers pick the best tool based on their budget, stack, and preferred workflow, maybe. Okay, so this is the kind of brief, this is kind of intro we would give or pitch we would give to our content planners to create outlines. So what I'd like to see here is, does Copy.ai do something similar to what we do? We can go with friendly, that's fine. Let's see what it comes up with. If it comes up with an outline that would be similar to what we would do. All right, so it's got, looks like it's created several sections here. Okay, not sure if I fully understand what it's done for me. So we've got a section, build tools. These continuously build projects, run tests and offer reports, automate release pipelines, integrations, take away our comparisons, help you decide. So maybe it's proposing, okay, I think what it's doing is it's proposing kind of outlines, sort of. I'm a little confused by what this is, to be honest. Doesn't seem like there's much in the way of, like, am I supposed to use all of these, or am I supposed to just use one? Comparison of features, analysis of code quality, continuously integrate and deploy your application while you're developing a good consideration. Automate your deployment process and guarantees that you aren't deploying broken code. This is not a terrible paragraph. So I guess maybe, oh, shoot. Maybe what I'm supposed to do here is start copying these things over. Is that kind of what it's saying? I'm gonna take this. Oh, interesting. It kind of like gets rid of all the line breaks. That's annoying. So here it's kind of giving me, maybe this is how I'm supposed to use this. I also don't know. This is like, it's pretty interesting, like seeing what it did. But it seems like it gave me like kind of an intro area in one of these that I copied out of here. It's giving me a bunch of sections. So these are options. It didn't give me 10 tools in one go, but it did if I combine these together. So maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll combine these two together and see how that's what I would do. I'm not going to do that because I don't really want to write for a ton of things. I think we get the idea. So I guess I could copy paste more of these out. Interesting. Okay. All right. So it's created outline for me. This isn't the way we would do it. But it's not terrible, and it might be kind of useful to get started here. Doesn't give me a lot of detail, but obviously that's fine. Let's say we ask for it to create a conclusion for this. Let's see, create copy. Let's see what it comes up with. So I guess this is maybe the way Copy.ai works, is it's giving me a bunch of options and I'm supposed to pick the best one. And that's sort of the whole AI assisted thing. So some of these, they come up with a conclusion. I like this. We believe that Travis CI is the best continuous integration tool, which is ironic because Travis CI is sort of there's some reasons that a lot of people would disagree with that statement. However, this will depend on your stack and needs. For example, if you're developing front-end code hosted on GitHub, you may want to opt for Hub CI or Circle CI. On the other hand, if you're working with Python and Google Cloud, maybe you want to know more about various CI tools for different languages. Not really sure what that means, but it's interesting that it has some strong opinions about continuous integration. Let's see, choosing one will likely depend on your individual needs. I kind of like this one. I mean, this is the kind of thing I would do, is say like, these are some of the best around, but choosing the best depends on your needs. I hope this article will make you better informed. Yeah, I think that's something that's what I would do. Yeah, okay. So we're kind of like creating our article here. Let's see. All right, so we've already got a bullet point to a blog section. That's interesting. The main point of this paragraph, give an overview of Jenkins. So now what I'm doing is I'm moving on to this blog point to blog section. And I'm going to kind of or bullet point to blog section. So essentially I'm taking the bullet point about about Jenkins here, and I'm going to see what it gives me. Let's create copy here. See what happens. Jenkins is an open source automation server written in Java. It's the most popular continuous integration tool. It's widely used by software developers who are integrating code they write with code developed by others. They can execute various tasks. This enables developers to write, integrate, and test code continuously, and helps ensure the software they produce is high quality and free of bugs. This tutorial provides instructions on how to install Jenkins on a CentOS 7 server. I don't know where the hell that came from, because that has nothing to do with what we wanted. But I'm sure it pulled that from some article. Here, this one is kind of tells us like what is continuous integration. Here's what I'm going to do. I like that at the beginning. In this article, some of the best tools for implementing continuous integration. Jenkins is the most popular open source CI server. It's used by more than that. It's written in Java. I wonder if that's even true. It's like one of the things that I'm always questioning on AI-driven or built content is like when they make assertions like used by 135,000 organizations worldwide. Like, where did they get that number? You know, I could probably Google it and figure out, but that's interesting. Okay, so cool. They've made a about Jenkins here, so that's great. We're gonna call this H2 is Jenkins, most popular source CI server. Okay, so it's It's written us a bit about Jenkins. I wonder if maybe we do it this way. We do give an overview of Travis CI and some of the advantages of using it for continuous integration. It's come up with it came up with another intro paragraph kind of similar to what it did before. Travis CI is a hosted continuous integration tool, provides distributed build testing, continuous integration platform, integrated, making it and it's kind of done the same thing where it's like turn this into a tutorial, even though it's not really. But there's some information there that's good. So let's say we take that. And to be honest, like the way I'm doing this is kind of the way I've found that these AI tools work best is you essentially end up like crafting your own article based on what it generates. And so different tools do it different ways, but in Copy.ai's, I kind of like this. I'm getting used to it. So it's like these, it's giving me like different snippets to pick from. So I, as a writer, have to kind of be smart. I have to kind of know what I'm looking for and how I'm going to craft this together maybe, but it's at least giving me a bunch of options to help me move faster, get started with things. It's like this definitional paragraph and stuff, which is legitimately useful. Like I know this is kind of a fluffy paragraph, these intros that it's giving us, but they might actually be like a fairly good starting point. And then what you'd want to do is include some like personal experience in each of these to make it a little deeper, a little more like compelling and interesting. So not bad, but definitely not giving me like any interesting takeaways. It's very like generic. It's almost like they copied the sales page from Jenkins and then rewrote it in this way. Same with Travis CI, but that might be a good starting point. And honestly, a lot of listicles are basically just that anyway. And here's another paragraph that might be good about it being open source hosted continuous integration service, build test projects in GitHub, hosted at GitHub. I don't know if Travis CI is open source, to be honest. We should figure this out because like this is one of the things again that I'm like most nervous about with using a AI writer is that like it'll tell us things that aren't true. I don't think that Travis CI itself. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Okay, so it is an open source project, although, this is just the core, I guess. So you've got like some other open source stuff. So yeah, open source. Okay, fair. Cool. The AI writer knows. Awesome. Okay, so we could go through and kind of do the same thing with the bucket pipelines, etc. I think we get the idea here. With what I would say is like having written a lot of these comparisons, I don't think you're going to get a lot of depth out of an AI, like Copy AI here, which makes sense. That's not what I would expect in an AI copywriter either. But it could absolutely get you some basic definitions taken care of and sort of like introductions to products taken care of. What I'd want to see is more of like, there's some things missing here, like the fabric, or like there's not really a common thread throughout this. It's not telling much of a story. It's very much like a very straightforward information type blog post, which again is what I'd expect from an AI writer. So as a writer, what I might do to actually use this successfully is I would sort of start with an outline, maybe that it generates or maybe that I use, and kind of adjust that a bit to help me kind of like come up with what's my structure here. The next thing I would do is I would get the AI writer to start writing like an intro, just very basic, like, what is continuous integration? How does it work? Why do you use it? Yada, yada, maybe. And then I'd fill in some gaps myself. And then I would probably talk a bit more in the individual sections like Jenkins, Travis CI about like pros and cons. It doesn't seem like it's giving much depth into the pros and cons here. It's really just giving like high level overviews of each of these tools and saying like, pick whichever one you like best, which is not super helpful as a developer. I mean, as a developer, I would look at that list and be like, well, okay, here's a list of all the tools I could go look into, but I still have to do a lot of research on my own here. So I'm not seeing a ton of depth. That said, I mean, it's writing fairly well, and we just need to kind of build some common threads throughout this. Maybe, one angle might be like comparing Jenkins, Travis.ci, and all these other ones on like whether they're a good fit for, say, a small open source project versus a large enterprise project or something. So there's some detail here we could add, and maybe we could keep tweaking the AI copywriter to get some of that. But I kind of like where this is going. I think this could legitimately save a writer time for this kind of writing. Now, some of the other kinds of writing, I think we're going to struggle with a little more. And so let's give this a shot. The next one I want to do is an introduction to Redis. So I'll just start a new project. I'm going to call this like introduction to Redis blog post. Now, Redis is it's a key value store, pretty technical thing, and it's not likely that the edit this out. It's not likely that most non-technical writers would have much of an idea about what Redis is, and so we kind of want to see how Copy.ai and these other tools do around writing an introduction overview to Redis. So let's see what we got here. In this blog post, we want to offer readers a high-level introduction to Redis, the key value store. And we'll call our readers software engineers to make more specific. Okay, in this blog post, we want to offer software engineers a high-level introduction to Redis, the key value store. We also want to provide code samples to show developers how to use it and what commands are available. Let's see what it comes up with for an outline. All right, so we've got section, learn what Redis is, learn how it works, understand how to get started. Software engineers will want to get familiar with Reddit and how it's being used by the likes of Heroku is kind of our takeaway here, which I don't know if that's a really useful takeaway, but let's go ahead and put this in here. Understand how to get started with Redis. I don't think that's terrible, like really brief outline. I mean, we go into a little more detail when we create our outlines. Like we might highlight some of the key commands we want the writer to show. And then you could get some other ideas here about like commands to access the data in the key value store. So maybe you can pull this in. These outlines are pretty. I would say this outline generation does not seem super useful to me. It's pretty high level, and if you've ever written an outline, you would probably come up with these in about 2 seconds. So I'm not seeing much value in these really, but it's not terrible either. It's not like it's not wrong necessarily. You still just as a human have to kind of poke through and figure out what makes sense. So let's try to see what it comes up with some of these sections. So we'll go back to that blog. We'll do the blog intro first, introduction to Redis. Let's create copy for this. AI writers, and I've seen this a few times. They come up with things like this. Hi there, my name is Elaine, and I'm a software engineer at Airbnb. This is where like AI writers are still like very much in the assistant mode of AI. Like they're not going to replace a writer or editor, somebody who has to come through and actually look at these things because of stuff like this. Like why the heck did it for a, a business focused blog post that you assume is not, I mean, I can't imagine, I don't know why it would assume it was ghost written for Alain at Airbnb, but this kind of thing is funny to me. I love seeing that. I'm imagining what it did because I don't know a ton about how AI tools are coming up with their content, but I do, from what I understand, GPT-3 and others are basically they've gone out to the internet, indexed a lot of content on a topic, and then used machine learning AI to train a model that will generate unique topics or unique content based on the scraped content or crawled content from the internet. So if there were several pieces or maybe a couple pieces of content out there written that started something in the vein of like, hi, my name is such and such and I'm a software engineer at this place, and they realize that's a company name, it's kind of like building that into the model, which is sort of a weakness of these models, but interesting anyway. Let's see what we've got. Redis open source, this is not bad. Open source in-memory key value store. Applications use it to store data in a fast and lightweight manner. I'm not really sure what that means. I'll probably edit that. It's written in C and accessible from several programming languages. Yeah, okay. This one doesn't make any sense. Some of these two are just funny. The first time I heard about Redis, I thought it was a database. I'm sure I wasn't the only one who thought that way at that moment, since the word Redis sounds like a data store for sure. That just makes no sense. So in-memory data structure server cannot store just simple values like number strings, but more complex objects with rich internal. I'm not sure if that's true. You got my dog in the background. Some of these are pretty bad. If you use a computer, you most likely have heard of databases. Databases are everywhere in our daily lives, and we take them for granted. You can find databases holding important information, such as personnel records. I mean, like, that's way too far up the chain. We kind of want this intro to Redis for software engineers. So anyway, on Heroku, Redis can be used to store data. Yeah, I don't know why it jumps into Heroku. Maybe a lot of content around Redis is written from Heroku's perspective. So yeah, anyway, I don't know if these intros are really that great. Let's go ahead and get into like a bullet point to blog section. So let's do how it works. Introduction to Redis. And then okay, so we'll say learn how Redis works, the underlying technology, and the history of the tool. These are kind of just saying the same thing over and over again. This is one of the things that, again, I found as a weakness of these AI writing tools for technical topics is they seem to be fairly good at giving you a really high level. Like Redis is a key value store, it's a powerful key value store. Unlike other NoSQL databases, it works on the principle of storing data on RAM, which means performance is close to that of a traditional database. That actually doesn't make any sense. It should be faster than that of a traditional database, but again, you gotta check the correctness of these tools when it comes to technical things. But yeah, it has a hard time with like getting into deep knowledge about these technical topics. It's clear that it's pulling some accurate high level information, but then a lot of it seems to be pretty inaccurate, or it struggles to get into any like sort of use cases and stuff like that you'd expect a real writer to maybe inject. So yeah, I'm not seeing anything in here. I mean, maybe data structure, services, keys. Maybe this would be a fairly good help to start off with that paragraph. It's not great, but I don't know. I mean, maybe that gives you a starting point. I think this is pretty crappy, but yeah. Okay, let's try how to get started with Redis. So let's say in this one we are just saying what's the main point. Help software developers get started using Redis. Let's just see what happens there. And I'm hoping this is like a, getting started kind of tutorial bit in Redis or something. Yeah, so it kind of like kicks, it doesn't, yeah. Interesting. Redis pronounced red eyes. Never heard it pronounced that way. Oh man. Yeah, this is rough. I would not like, almost every one of these paragraphs from what I can see has some like technical issues. So technical accuracy wise, not good. Not something I would rely on, and something you'd have to have pretty strict technical oversight. This is kind of where the last type of content I was going to try is a tutorial, and I think it would really struggle with generating a tutorial for a software developer. Probably, I mean, it makes sense, right? Like these tools are mostly written for business to business copy. It's like, it doesn't make sense that they would be tuned to write like code samples or like copy a getting started guide from Redis. But yeah, I mean, pretty weak as far like not as impressive here, and not too surprising because Redis is a little bit more of a niche technology than continuous integration tools. Maybe also maybe that Redis is a little bit deeper technically of a topic, so it could be hard for this thing to pull out accurate information. It might be mixing up, facts along the way. So I think, conclusion here, Copy.ai, if you're going to have it write like high-level guides or try to help you write high-level guides to a really technical topic, you're really going to need to know your stuff anyway. Probably not going to save me that much time. I mean, honestly, there's so few paragraphs and like pieces I can take from this that as a developer, I would just do this myself. It probably isn't going to be worth it. So maybe that's a good place to leave it for this type of article. Last one we'll try is a tutorial, which I think will be tough. All right, so this time we're going to try a tutorial. This one is going to be called we'll call it how to create your first Node.js application. And what we want, this is like a very basic topic for a software developer. Node.js is a really, it's a really common language. It's JavaScript, and it is taught by most of the boot camps, and most entry-level software developers will know Node.js and how to create their first Node.js application. So it's a very, very basic intro. There's probably tons of stuff on the internet about this. In this tutorial, we like to show new software developers how to get started with Node.js. They will build a small application with a single page that says hello world. Okay, so this is about the simplest tutorial I can think to do. And if I were to write this tutorial myself, it'd be pretty straightforward. And anybody who's written any Node before would have very easy time with this. So let's see how it does with creating an outline for it. Obviously, like this is going to be, I'm not sure how it's going to handle that because is it going to know the technical steps? Is it going to like sort of gloss over a lot of things? We'll see. All right, so section 1, how to install Node and create a basic Node project, create a simple hello world application. You've completed a new technology tutorial. That's pretty bad. Basically just rehash the pitch that I sent it. Getting Node.js and creating a basic application displaying a website. Getting started with JavaScript ES6. I'm not sure why it's getting into that. Session and cookies. Not sure why it's getting into that. 4 blog ideas for your product blog. This makes no sense. I don't know how that came up. Yeah, these are pretty rough. Required software, build your first Node app, get hands on. Okay. Maybe start building the application, Node.js platform. Yeah. I mean, none of this is really any use at all. Okay, maybe actually this, here we go. Meet Node.js, installing Node.js, accessing the terminal. Okay, all right, all right. Let's do this. This isn't, I mean, this is pretty sparse. Like it's not enough that I would really, it would really help you write it in real life, but let's see if it can fill in the gaps for us and start to write some content that's useful. So I think we know it's going to be able to write the intro, like what is Node.js. We've kind of seen that in some of the other ones. It's going to be pretty high level, but it could, I'm fairly confident it could help us write like a basic intro here. So let's try bullet point to blog section. We can say installing Node.js. Oh, sorry, how to create it. Okay, so in this paragraph, we want to show readers how to install Node.js. Let's try that. Open CMD, you can use what type of CMD to start, press enter, you get a security warning, okay. npm install gn, so it's, if you've got npm already, no, then that would work. Okay, so this is like on Windows. Obviously, you wouldn't know that unless you've actually installed Node before, but you know, there's a start. This one, I mean, this is not everything you need to do to install Node. It's been a while since I've done it. You would also probably, if you were really going to go all the way to the start of installing Node, you'd want to talk about Node Version Manager, which is the way to manage like different versions of Node, which is pretty common. You also would want to caveat this whole thing by saying this is for Windows and like maybe a link to a Linux one, but okay, there's a start. Installing Node.js on Ubuntu is easy. Ooh, I like this. Open up a terminal window and type sudo apt-get install Node.js. I like that. That might give us a good start. All right, so let's do that. Now, our initial outline said accessing the terminal, but I feel like that's already kind of done. Well, what we could do is we could move that up here because we really need the terminal to install Node.js. Of course, I only know that because I've done this, but maybe the AI tool doesn't know quite that much. So let's fill out the accessing the terminal. So how do you access? Or I guess we gotta. I don't know how we have to phrase this. Let's just try something really sparse and see what it comes up with. The terminal on Ubuntu. So because it specified Ubuntu already for us, let's see what it does when we do access the terminal in Ubuntu. Yeah, it doesn't seem to have understood what I meant here. So we say like show the reader how to access their terminal on Ubuntu. Maybe that works better. It's easy to create a Node.js application familiar with JavaScript. You probably know. Okay, so I don't know why it's giving us all this. Doesn't seem to. Yeah. Well, this one mentioned Node.js, npm, and Node Package Manager. That's kind of good. Yeah, I mean, this could be like you could link off to. You'd have to do a lot. You'd have to know what you were already doing. I'll just put it this way: like this is clearly not going to write the tutorial for us. But if you knew what you were doing and you were struggling to write copy around it, maybe that would help. Although I'd say like, writing something very procedural like that should take about as long as it's taken to go through and search for that line here. This is interesting. It's like come up with installing Node.js and then installing Express. That's good. This could actually be useful. Now that you have Express installed, and then it kind of ends there, which is always funny. This is another thing I've noticed with AI writers. They tend to do these weird things where like a sentence ends without anything else. It's like, doesn't really end. Don't know why that happens. It must be something in like a length limit that's built in. Okay, let's take this one. Let's say that this is going to be our sort of getting new. I don't know if we can do that. Okay, so you have to paste without formatting to get this. All right. So now we've got step 1, installing Node.js. We can make this an H2. We've got step 2, installing Express. Awesome. Now that you have Express installed, what's step 3? Again, we'd have to know the steps. So like, let's just say creating a new Express app, and then we would fill this out. See if it knows what that means. I wonder if these are real articles. No. It's like it made fun, or it made up sources that I don't, they're not real. That's crazy. So here's another weird quirk. I think I've seen this before. Yeah, so it's like it's coming up with real websites, but these tutorial pages don't exist. So I don't know. It's like it's even given us the contact information for Michael at Todoist.com. Don't know why that happened. Okay. Yeah, nothing here is very useful. So that's not going to help us. So we'd have to figure out how to create that Express app. Yeah, I mean, this seems pretty minimally useful for tutorials, to be honest. And maybe you could get it to help you write an introduction and a conclusion, but it doesn't look like it's really got much idea what it's doing. I mean, even these commands it gave us, they're not actually going to work. Like this doesn't have an and between two pseudo. The whole thing's just not going to run. Like you can't just take it and run it as it is. Running these commands in sudo might also be a problem depending on your setup. So yeah, there's some issues here, obviously. But you know, I could see there being some usefulness as a assistant, especially if you were writing less technical, more high level overviews or more pieces that were kind of like maybe a roundup type piece. I think this could be kind of helpful. I would say that like, if you're writing a roundup, a listicle that you really want to do well, you're going to need to add a little more depth. Maybe, definitely some screenshots and some like personal experience if you've got it. Those could be really useful. The other thing I was thinking about trying here is the idea creator. I think there's a brainstorming tools, writing tools. What was it? Was it topic? Blog ideas. There we go. So let's say that we are a continuous integration tool. Let's go with that again. And let's do it for PHP developers, just for the heck of it. And we'll see what this comes up with. So this is coming up with ideas. Easy CI, push button, PHP automation, a blog about continuous integration and how it can help develop applications faster. Cool, that's a decent idea. Why developers should stop worrying and learn continuous integration. I like that. Building a PHP application, how to set Travis CI. Comprehensive guide to continuous integration system. Setting up CI and some of the problems with it. Okay. Yeah, this is kind of cool. I could see, these aren't the titles I would use personally. But these topics are not bad. I mean, it came up with like a testing topic for a CI tool, which is relevant. So that's cool. Creating a brighter future for coding. Explain Git hooks. I don't know that Git hooks are making a brighter future for coding. That's a little bit far-fetched. But, if you were smart enough and you looked over these, you could probably pick some that are fairly good. Why you should include tests in your workflow. That makes sense. Yeah, I think some of these might be kind of useful. I could see some value if I were just like, what does, trying to randomly come up with ideas. Maybe you can pull some things out of there, although to be honest, if you're a developer who's done any work in continuous integration, you probably come up with those topics really quickly. So I don't know that that's like adding a ton, but maybe if you're a marketing person and you're like, I just need some ideas, and maybe I'll, generate some ideas here and pass them over to engineers to see what they think. That might help you sort of augment your workflow. So I can see that being useful. So Copy.ai, it's got a lot of other interesting features here that you might want to dig into if you're going to give it a try. It's a 7-day free trial, which is nice. And it doesn't seem like there's a strict limit on how much you use it in that trial period. Now, as far as pricing goes, let's see what we've got. Today, as of writing this, we've got a free trial. We've got a solo for $35 a month, which gives us unlimited runs, which is pretty cool. And then you've got team ones for you're getting multiple seats, and that's custom pricing, so it's going to go up from there. So not a bad price point, to be honest. I think $30 to $40, $50 a month is kind of what I've seen for a lot of the starter tools in the AI writing space. So hopefully this was helpful to think about how you could use Copy.ai. I'm going to go ahead and take a break and get us into the next tool. We are back to talk about Jarvis, and Jarvis has gotten a lot of attention, I feel like, lately. Maybe I don't know if they've raised money or if they've just, they sort of were early out the gate getting associated with AI writing. So I've heard a lot about Jarvis, but I haven't had a chance to use it yet. Unlike the first tool we tried, Copy.ai, was that Copy.ai? Is that the right one? Yeah, Copy.ai. Jarvis is... it makes you pay to get started. So one big difference if you're just kind of a hobbyist hacking around checking these tools out is with Jarvis, you're going to have to pay that first payment of $60 actually up front. So a little pricier, but at the same time, maybe a little more mature product. I don't know. We'll see. They come right up. They've got a getting started video, a boot camp. I'm going to skip all that because I like to go ahead and just see what I can figure out on my own first. So I'm going to go ahead and start a new document. I will, let's do a blog post. That sounds good. Okay, so this is the most important step. The better you can describe what you want to write, the higher quality Jarvis will do. So just like we did with Copy.ai, we're gonna compare roundups. We're going to do a guide, and we're going to do tutorial. So I'm just going to continuous integration tool. So it's got like an option for how keywords work. Oh, that's cool. 3 keywords. Okay, cool. So for SEO focused stuff, which usually a roundup like this would be a SEO focused thing. So let's go ahead and we're using the same description we did with Copy.ai, just to be fair. Let's see. Yeah, so it's gonna write your own title. 10 tools to compare for continuous integration. Okay, so it's generated some ideas for us as well. That's kind of cool. We'll just use our own for now. Write your own intro or let Jarvis help you generate. So yeah, generate some ideas. Get me an intro, Jarvis. This is cool. It's kind of walking me through the whole creating a blog post process. And instead of where Copy.ai's was a little more like, here's a bunch of different tools. I like this UI a lot better. It seems a lot easier to just jump in and start using. So props to Jarvis for that. Let's see. So we basically go through and we pick now. So similar to Copy.ai, it's kind of generate a few options for us, and it's going to let us pick. So software developers are always looking for the best tools to help them do their job. One of the best ways to increase productivity is through continuous integration, which automatically builds and tests your code after each commit. In this roundup, we'll discuss 10 or more of the best CI tools available so that developers have a better idea of what they need in order to get up to date with their workflows. That's not bad. I don't know if up to date with your workflows makes any sense, but generally speaking, the paragraph's not bad. This one, okay, yeah, maybe less like that one. All right, let's go with this one. So we've set up our article now. And the way this works, I guess, is we're going to do this and we can just start having it generate content. Interesting. I don't know why it did that. Does it, maybe it doesn't know how to generate a list for us. Cool. So you can type something in, and then you can do Command and return or Command J or click this button, and it'll sort of follow the it'll kind of do what you asked it for. So let's do this. Let's say that we make these H2s and we say like a brief description of Jenkins. We select that, and apparently you select it and then you hit enter, and it sort of like writes it for you. Now, I don't know why it just jumped straight into Bamboo, because that wasn't the next one on our list, but that's okay. We can delete that. Jenkins is open source continuous integration service, been popular for quite a long time. Its best use is an automating common test running unit tests. Teams want to automate their software development pipeline. Okay, so there's some junk there. I don't know how it got that. One of the best features, the ability to create a task simply by clicking on new item. I don't know that would be like the best feature I would highlight in something like Jenkins, but okay. The best part of this is, interesting. Like you have to select less than 200 words in order for it to, okay. All right, so I kind of like that it's giving us a best of Jenkins. What if we say like the downside to Jenkins is, let's see what that comes up with. It's difficult to set up and configure. Additionally, it can be challenging to find plugins that meet the team's needs. Okay, maybe that's a fair point. I don't know if I'd agree necessarily, because there's a lot of plugins for Jenkins, but that's not the worst thing I've ever seen. Let's say like description of Travis CI. Oh, I don't know what I just did there. Somehow I redirected Jarvis to put, I think I clicked. Interesting. So don't click while it's writing, or it gets mad. Let's see what power mode is. I like this. Ooh, okay. Interesting. So power mode, I can really get granular. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to dig in, and this seems a little more like Copy.ai's feature here. So yeah, here we could have like a text summarizer. That's cool. Blog post intro, blog post outline. Okay. All right. So Jarvis kind of has, it seems like there's sort of like two levels here, where you can do like a really, granular picking of the tools how you're using it, or you can kind of just like generally start having it write stuff like this. So pretty cool. I mean, honestly, I think this is on par there with Copy.ai as far as like creating a roundup. Like maybe a little, I would say this is probably a little easier to use, unless you start getting into things where you're like, well, that was not a great paragraph, and you have to delete and rewrite and delete and rewrite over and over. Copy.ai is letting you sort of pick each paragraph you want to use, was a little bit nicer from that perspective. So maybe just a different approach. I wouldn't say it's worse or better. Sort of same issues here as far as like technical depth isn't really that interesting. But in a roundup, when you're just comparing a bunch of tools at a high level, maybe you don't care about that as much. Don't know if any of these facts are, it actually hasn't said a lot of real facts about these things that are beyond just very surface level. So, let's get into trying a guide out and see how that goes. So we'll do a new guide, a new blog post workflow. And this time we're going to do our introduction to Redis again. This will use the description we had before. We'll use the keyword, what is Redis? Let's have it generate some ideas for us just for fun. All right, let's go with this. Redis, the key value store for software engineers. I kind of like that. I can do that. Let's see what it comes up with for the intro. Redis is a key value store. It is the data structure. It is the data structure that powers what you see on your screen when you use applications like Twitter, Redmine, and GitLab. That doesn't make any sense. If you're looking for an open source database with low latency, high read-write rates, then look no further. That's probably true. Software engineers and developers. I mean, it's not really a full-featured database, key value store, but close enough. Do in order to get the data they want. Redis key value store solution. This article, what it is, and provide you with code samples. Okay. So if this one can give us code samples, that's cool. Okay. All right, so we've got it set up here. So I guess, now we've got to kind of like, we sort of have to see what happens here. So maybe we say like, history of Redis is the next paragraph we want. Let's see what it does there. Originally developed in 2009 by Salvatore Sanfilippo, who named the project after his daughter's name, Delilah. How did he get Redis from Delilah? I don't know if that's true, but okay. It uses an open source license and has been downloaded more than 10 million times from its primary website, GitHub, Bitbucket, and other sources. Makes no sense. The core team consists of that. I mean, is this guy really the Redis guy? I really don't know. Oh yeah. So he is the creator of Redis, that's kind of cool. So it did know that. It had some correct information there. Let's see. This article will give you a high level introduction to what Redis is and what you can do with it. Okay, so we've kind of got an intro. I mean, like it really didn't give us much history, not anything interesting. If I were really writing an article about the history of Redis, and there's a lot of weird like random text you have to delete, and I don't know what's up with these random big line breaks and stuff. But I mean, okay, fine. So let's say like it's already given us a pretty high level introduction. How Redis works. It's like saying it's a key value store in memory database, like many different times. So it likes those intros. Yeah, I mean, the hard part here is like it doesn't seem to know that it's already kind of said this stuff before, and so it's just repeating itself, which makes it pretty minimally useful for anything like, writing a deep dive into a technical topic. You'd want to start with the general information and get more specific as you go, right? And this is really just kind of like rehashing the general information over and over again, which is not that interesting. Maybe if we gave it a really good outline, we could start to get something a little better, but it doesn't seem to be getting there on its own. Let's try like how to use Redis or something like that. Maybe see if we get anything about it getting started. Okay, so can you actually give me code samples in Redis? Okay, so it's kind of doing it. I mean, like you'd really have to clean this copy up. This is pretty much crap, but it sets the given key to the given value. Okay, set my key. Okay, cool. Yeah, actually, that might be valid. I think there's like, I don't think you just hit set. You sort of have to like there's a thing before this like Redis and then the command, or you're in the Redis command prompt or whatever that is. But I mean, there's something here. Like some of these things are technically correct. This is funny. It has like typos in it. If exits true, then we need to write what's in the back. Okay. So kind of, preview of the next section, I think. It struggles with writing technical commands. Obviously, it struggles with actually knowing what's going on here. Maybe you can get like a little bit, like similar to Copy.ai, you're getting a little bit of value out of this like high level overview, but honestly, it's repeating itself so much that you'd really have to go through and edit this. It's not like it's definitely not writing a useful blog post for us. And the fact that I can't really pick what it's going to write about next. It seems to just like go. It's like on or off almost, is a little less valuable maybe than the Copy.ai style of doing it, where you get to pick a paragraph. I don't know that this is, again, any more valuable than the way Copy.ai did it. But it's what did I say? It's outputting content. Not all of that content is terrible. That's about as far as I'll go. So not great. Okay, let's try the tutorial just for the heck of it. I think we're going to get something similar to how we did what we did with Copy.ai, to be honest, because it just seems like tutorials are not something these are really set up to do, which makes sense. But so let's do like creating a Node.js application. Let's get it to generate some ideas for us. So this is going to be a tutorial about how to use Node.js and get started with Node.js by developing a Hello World application. I like that. All right, intro paragraph. Let's do it, Jarvis. See what you come up with. Node.js is a runtime environment for creating server-side and network applications written in JavaScript. With Node, you can create fast, scalable, real-time web applications using non-blocking I/O. In this tutorial, we'll show. This is not a bad paragraph, honestly. I mean, it actually got pretty technical pretty quick, which is, maybe you want that depending on your audience. So I wonder what happens if we just hit Jarvis command. Okay, so I have to give it something to start from. It doesn't like to just go at blank. So what did we do before? We do like installing Node.js. Let's see what it comes up with there. It tells us to go to their website to follow the instructions. It's not really helpful. So creating an Express.js app. Maybe that's the next step. Yeah. None of this is useful. I don't understand these big line breaks. Like this is just a lot of extra deleting for me to do. I don't like, why are those getting generated? If somebody from Jarvis wants to let me know what that's about, like, is there a reason that those get just dumped in there? Like, why don't you just truncate those off? It seems like a pretty easy little filter to build, but okay. So there, this is like just telling us to go to the website and to download it. Okay, so that's not really that useful. Let's say creating an endpoint in Express. Oh, cool. It actually did generate some code. Look at this. We got some actual code. This is awesome. Okay, I'm super jazzed about this. I know this is not much, because you'd still have to do a lot of structure around it. But it's kind of neat that it actually created a function. This might actually work. Yeah, I mean, you would still have to do some imports or require statements, and there's no code here for installing Express and Node.js, but obviously, like, there's a little bit here that you could go off of. You've actually incorrect indentation. It's not set off as a code block, but that's kind of cool. So I wonder if we can do other things like send back to the. I mean, this is, yeah. I wonder if you can do something like a JavaScript, or maybe we call it an Express endpoint that returns HTML. Let's see if we can do that. That's cool. I mean, it's a really basic example. But it's like generating code. That's super neat. I'm excited about that. It's like, this is pretty arbitrary. Like, you're clearly not going to write a very good tutorial off of something like this, because this isn't telling you the right way to generate HTML through an Express app, like you'd probably want to use the what is that? Like one of the body plugins and set the headers and things like that. I don't know, whatever. But it's like it's doing something, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, not really useful. Like overall, this is not really something I would write a tutorial with. It isn't very helpful from like, I mean, it's not really anything beyond. I mean, like you could get the same information copying and pasting from another Node tutorial, because this is a very common topic that's been written about millions of times, I'd imagine. And so the truth is, like, what you're getting here is like basically just little snippets that are analogous to what you get on the documentation page for a Node.js app. But it does kind of show you the potential, and I think this is one thing that everything, these AI tools really are all about, just like thinking about the potential here. They're getting closer to doing something really useful in general. And maybe in certain cases, they are already doing something useful. If we kind of looked back at this, these roundups, which you could pretty easily build a roundup off of this AI-driven tool. It wouldn't be the greatest roundup in the world, but would it be better than, or would it be as good as someone who's never really used these tools would write? Like, yeah, it would be as good as a random freelance copywriter writing about continuous integration tools, I'd imagine. So, it's a starting point, and it's kind of cool to think about the potential. I'm not going to try out today any like automated code writing tools, although that's another area where people are starting to use AI, and I know that in the future I'll have to do something with GitHub Pilot as well. But pretty cool to see here in Jarvis. Now, to kind of go over some other features in Jarvis, there's a lot to it that you can do. Like we kind of looked at this power mode a second ago, and I haven't tried a lot of these. I wonder if I think these would probably be interesting to play around with. We can see what this does just right offhand. I think it would be interesting to play around with some of this stuff and see what else is really valuable for your business. If you're writing a lot of Facebook ad headlines, if you're writing a lot of, maybe you want to come up with topic ideas, again, we could try that too. Website headlines and sub headlines. I'd love to try some of these things and see how it does. Cold emails may be interesting. Query answers, I guess you could probably, there's text summarizer. I'm actually super interested about this for things like generating social media collateral for an article. So if we put in like a snippet about an article, like maybe take the introduction paragraph and then summarize it, could that be useful? So there's some things here that I think are worth checking out and trying out. All right, I am back. Let my hair down, and I'm back to bring some more insight into some of these AI writing tools. So the next one on my list is Copysmith. And Copysmith is another, seems pretty similar to the first two we talked about, Jarvis and Copy.ai. When you sign up, the first thing they ask you is like, what do you want to get started with? I'm going to go ahead and start with this blog outline. They've got 30 plus templates, but maybe we'll, like we have with the other ones, let's get started here. So let's take this and see what happens. So we go into our blog outline, we see language, English. That's cool that a lot of these don't have other languages, or at least it's not easy to tell how to do other languages. So that's neat. Ali's expert voice. I don't know what COVID-19. I guess we'll talk technology. Maybe that makes sense. Subject matter expertise can help optimize your content. Okay, let's see what this is. I kind of want to see what this Ali is. AI proofreader. Cool. Interesting. All right, let's see what that does. Okay, so next we want to get our, we're going to go with our same prompt that we were looking at with the other ones. Let's see if I can find it. We'll start off with our best continuous integration tools. And we'll do our description. All right, let's see. All right, so they've created an outline. This looks eerily similar to Copy.ai's. I don't know if that means anything. Um, Interesting. Here they've comparison criteria, that makes sense. And then Jenkins versus Travis CI, build bot versus Bamboo CI. I guess you could just delete these if you wanted to do that. Here's one. This one's a lot more like what we've seen. Okay, this looks good. Let's go with this. So do we create a freeform document? I think this is what we do. Well, doesn't matter. We'll just create it like this, see what happens. Okay, so it's created a freeform document, kind of funky formatting here. Let's see if we can clean that up. Okay, now yeah, so if we just do this, okay, let's try something like this. So that was pretty intuitive. It sort of created an outline for us, and then we turned that outline into a document. I kind of like that workflow, although it's annoying that we had to add line breaks between each one. It seems like that would have been easy for them to do. Now, I don't know what happened here. Huh. This is weird. Maybe I'm doing this wrong. Maybe I'm not supposed to. Maybe it's making another outline for me. So what if I copy this and then I do something new? Maybe maybe this is what I have to do. Maybe it's not as not as cool of a workflow as I thought. Bullet point expander. This is the one we kind of tried with the other ones. It's interesting. They've all kind of got similar feelings here. Okay, here we go. So maybe this is what I can do. They all have similar like features. I'm assuming they're all based on GPT-3, and that's why. But it is interesting that yeah. Let's see. Okay, so this is kind of cool. Let's see if this works. We don't care any keywords to avoid. Yeah, I mean, because these are all based on GPT-3, a lot of the advancement that the tools can do, or the improvements the tools can make, are around UI and then merging, combining ideas together. So let's see what this one got. So there's a bunch of paragraphs about continuous integration. Yeah, it's really hard to tell how I'm supposed to use this tool. Jarvis was very like pushed me right into a workflow, and it was like, okay, this is how you're supposed to use this. But honestly, I am not sure. I guess, okay, so it just kind of lumped all those bullet points together. I see. Continuous integration. He used integration several times, not without explaining what it means. Verified by an automated build. Okay, so it kind of did a quick description of each. Not really that helpful. And then, the problem I'm having here is like, where am I supposed to, what do I do now? Can I put these somewhere? No. Copy uniqueness. I guess that's cool. So I guess I have to trying to figure out, like, if I want to use this in a document, what do I do? I come here and then, this is kind of clunky if this is the workflow I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah, so it's just not clear to me how this is supposed to work. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's sort of doing some of the same things, but the workflow seems very I'm not sure what it's trying to do. So the workflow here, I would give this one a pretty bad usability, at least for my use case. Now it could be obviously that my use case is not their ideal, the one that they're sort of pitching you on. It did come up with an outline, but like trying to figure out how to use this bullet point expansion was really confusing. I'm not sure where I'm supposed to put that. Am I supposed to put it in a new document? Like if I do a new file that's like article writing assistant legacy, I don't know what that means. Content rewriter. Yeah, so anyway, I'm not super impressed by Copysmith here. Just confusing how to use it, and it doesn't seem like I can easily, I don't know if I'm supposed to drop these. I guess, it's fine if that's all I can do. Maybe I just, maybe this is how I should do it, I guess. Like I can just generate more Jenkins content. Taking away this whole massive screen loader is also pretty painful. Just sitting there for 15 seconds. Okay, and it's just coming up with 130, 110 characters, which is pretty boring. I mean, they're not very deep at all. You have a little more depth down towards the bottom. No, it's not sorted by length. Here, this one's got 600 words. It's so this is weird. Like, it is producing paragraphs, but they're of totally different lengths, and there's no way for me to tell which one. Like, I have to go through and pick the ones individually and put them where I guess go put them into a document. And it takes 15 seconds to generate all these. Like, this just I must not be using this correctly, or the use case is not what I'm thinking it is. So, I think I'm done with Copysmith. I don't think this is for me. I don't think this is really, the workflow's really got a lot of room for improvement, at least for doing blog posts. It seems like maybe there's some other use cases where this would be better. Maybe that's what we should do, is try something else. Maybe we're using this wrong, or it would work better in a different setting. Let's see. Content ideas. I kind of like the idea. Let's generate some content ideas. So this maybe makes sense because it's got a big list over here. It's going to generate all these. So let's go with the technical voice. The company name is going to be, we'll do something like really well known. GitHub audience, software developers. Let's see what GitHub says they are on their homepage. I have to do this in incognito because I'm probably logged in. How would you describe GitHub? We'll take Wikipedia's description. That seems to be a pretty good way to do this. And we'll get rid of the acquired by Microsoft because that doesn't matter. Was it Git pull requests, code review? We can find keywords. That's cool. Okay, well, maybe we'll try that next. Let's see what we get here. So theoretically, this is coming up with ideas for how to, things you could write about if you were GitHub.com. Create a series of short videos that break down complicated technical subjects, like how to use Git and pull requests in an accessible way. Produce a documentary on the code review process used by GitHub, why it exists, how it's useful. That's kind of cool. We should partner with organizations that host events for software developers, support them in creating content around GitHub, and enable more people to use GitHub. Help software developers who use GitHub get better at using their product. Interesting. This is cool. It comes up with offer free hosting to underrepresented users in the developer community, women and minorities, give them the opportunity to create content on how they use GitHub in their own communities and publish it on your site. This is kind of cool. It's just like giving me basically marketing or content marketing ideas. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of random. Like, am I gonna act on a bunch of random ideas the computer spit out? I don't know. You create content specific to each industry. I mean, yeah, some of these you could kind of like run through the lens of like, is this really a good idea for us? It's not like I assumed this was going to be giving us like ideas for specific blog posts to write. This is kind of more just like higher level. So interesting idea. All right. The last tool I'm going to talk about today is Frase. This is a SEO driven AI content writing tool or writing software. And it looks pretty polished from the outside. They're supposed to help you with briefs, writing, optimization, analytics. So it seems like pretty good stuff. You've got to pay $1 just to get in for the trial, 7-day trial, and then it's a little pricey, but it looks like it's a more premium offering. Once you log in, you don't get you're not really guided into anything. So I assume I'm going to create a new document here. And let's say, okay, so this is really focused around SEO, so target search query. So we're going to go back to our roundup, best continuous integration tools. We'll just make that our query. We'll do continuous integration tools. We'll create the document. Okay, so Frase analyzes the top 20 Google results. I like these little telling me how it works. That really helps. For a target search query to provide you with the tools you need to research, write, optimize content quickly. Okay, they're processing results and it's going to load. Okay, so we're getting some stuff. So this looks a little more analogous to an SEO-driven writing tool and less about the AI writing, which could be really valuable if you're doing a lot of SEO writing. Okay, so SERP Frase breaks down the contents of the top results into outlines, headers, links, and stats. Okay. It's got a content brief that it created. That could be cool. Optimize, fill in topics by comparing topics found in your content. Okay, I like that. Questions, review the questions your SERP competitors answered. Click on those questions to reveal each source. Okay. Wikipedia, AI writer, automatically write headings. Okay, cool. This is neat. I like all this stuff. This could be really useful, assuming it works. Editor tabs, writing new content, toggle back and forth between a content brief and your draft. Okay, neat. Share document. Okay, and then a content editor. Got it. Okay, so we've got content. Best continuous integration tools. We'll just put our title in there. Now it's saying, I'm a little confused as to what I'm supposed to do now. I guess, this is cool. So we would say like, write for me. Let's see if this does it. We're basically looking at one of our competitors. Ooh, this is cool. I mean, I'm sure that the quality of content is on par with the other AI writers because they're all doing the same thing. They're all GPT-3, I'm sure. But what's neat here is we're basically getting clued into exactly what we should write. So more or less what we do is we say like, here, what is this going to do? Insert template, insert data. No, we'll just do this. We'll say H1 continuous integration tools. Let's just dump this in. So now it's going to take this as its prompt. It takes the H1 or the first paragraph of our competitor article and writes an intro based on that prompt. This is super cool. I mean, I can't say that like the quality of this writing stuff is much better, but it is neat that it gives you sort of it gives you this like almost framework to write from. Yeah. I mean, I feel like you'd still have to go through this content and actually like kind of make sure that it really makes sense. Some of this looks already a little bit like questionable, but I could definitely see building like roundups off of this, like this. I could also see, I could probably see a world where you're kind of like, you're able to really quickly like get a framework. Even if you didn't use the AI writer, almost like getting a framework of what these articles are about and then trying to figure out how to make your article similar to them, which is essentially what a lot of SEO writing is pretty good. And you can even do this, like paste the whole outline. So I could just like take the top result, paste the outline, And now, yeah. So I can grab this, and then I can AI writer write about this. Oh, I like this. Well, that did not work correctly. So what if we do something like, what is Jenkins CI tool? And we have the AI writer write about this. Maybe that's a little better of a prompt. Yeah, so this is kind of on par. Oh, and this is cool. It even started the next sort of logical thing to talk about. Man, this is neat. I like the way they've done this. They've clearly done this UI with writers in mind. So unlike looking at some of the other ones, which were, it's almost like the tools are doing so much that it's really hard to tell which, I don't know, it's hard to tell how you're supposed to use it. It's almost like, this is philosophically like building a product. If you have many target audiences in mind, it's much harder to build a usable product than when you have one target market in mind. And that's kind of like SEO copywriters is kind of all they're writing for here, or working with. And this makes it really easy for SEO copywriters to just grab this tool and just get it, you know? So like we've just written a couple paragraphs about Jenkins. I don't know if they're any good, but you'd have to go through here again and like clean it up. So let's do something like this. I don't know what that was. What is Team City? And I can hold Control Enter, or I can hold Command Enter and get this. So yeah, I mean, the content's going to be on par, is my guess, with some of the other ones that we've already seen, because it's doing more or less the same thing. The usability, though, here, way better from my perspective. Let's see what else is over here. Brief. Okay, so this is, I'm actually creating a brief instead of creating the actual content. Well, all right, so clearly I need to figure out how to use this better, but I do see now how this would be useful. Okay, so this is cool. Then optimizing, we can see what article or what words we should mention when optimizing the article. We should mention static code analysis. Yeah. We can see what questions might be in the article. Wow. Yeah, this is really interesting. I mean, this seems like there's a lot here that I could play with. I don't know if we need anything with that. So let's see if what we get when we do like a blog introduction. Oh, I'm not sure. Okay, I'm not sure exactly what this means. Let's see what it does. This is supposed to come up with an introduction for us. Oh. Okay. I'm not sure how much different. I mean, maybe this is a little different. What's the best way to automate testing, continuous integration of software development practice where developers can make code changes? Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, I could definitely see using this. What I like about it is that it's easy to, it's helping you on a few different levels here, both structuring your article as well as actually writing it. Let's start over and do something bigger, like our introduction to Redis, which is going to be a little more technical, a little trickier to do. Yeah, we'll just create this. Okay, so our content brief introduction to Redis, it's going to be grabbing some stuff from search results first. And we'll try to create an outline based on those things. And then we'll use the actual my content bit first as well. Okay. So just paste the outline in here. I'm not sure what these based on things are. Maybe that's not a great outline. Maybe this is a better one. So we're basically just taking this article and making this our starting point for an outline. And then I guess what we could do is we could, sort of clean that up and improve it if we wanted. Okay, so if we take that, now what do we do? Look at our brief here. Okay, cool. So this sees our brief. And now we can kind of like start writing based on this brief. So we could just do inline template. So blog introduction to Redis. Let's see if we crank up the creativity to 3 out of 5. So let's take our AI writer and we'll see what we get when we say we're installing Redis. Wow. It's interesting it switched over to like first person here. It's kind of cool. I wonder why that it chose to do that. Because it doesn't seem like any of the other ones have done like this personal experience thing. I mean, I don't know if that's I don't know if it's good or bad. We've got apt-get lib. Yeah, I mean, we're installing things with apt-get. I assume that's right. We'd have to look again. Like, and it's weird that this. I guess this doesn't really get bullet points. Maybe we'd have to turn this into a bullet points. Okay, so we've got installing Redis. Now we've got starting Redis. Let's see if it just keeps going here. This is pretty cool. I mean, it's crazy. The other ones were not good at these tutorials, and this one seems to be kind of getting it. Yeah, this is nuts. This is pretty wild. And then checking if Redis is working. So this is, I mean, there's not a lot of detail in here, right? Like if I was writing a real tutorial, I'd want to, this goes definitely wrong. I'd probably want to, it's funny. It's just reading these things. I'm like, okay, yeah, clearly there's some mistakes here. Yeah, this one doesn't make sense. Like if the code doesn't make sense, but also just the whole thing doesn't make sense. So let's try that again. Maybe we rewrite it and see what happens. So now it's confused. Like it doesn't know how to check if Redis is working. Okay, so we can kind of is running. I wonder if that's a better way to do this. It really crapped out there. Okay, well, we're just gonna forget that one then. This is where it's like, the tool looks really cool, and then you realize, oh, it's still AI, and it's not really that smart. Oh man, now I don't know what it's gone off the rails. It's completely lost. That's interesting. It's weird because it was doing its thing pretty well there for a bit. Should we call this like how to save data to Redis? Maybe. See if that does any better. Yeah, it's really gotten itself confused. Like now this tutorial thing kind of like, it stopped working essentially. Yeah, so I mean, I kind of feel like we're sort of, broken record. In a way, this tool has some, this phrase has some definite advantages. I mean, going in here and being able to optimize things. So say if I did really write this thing myself and then start to run against it, I might run into some, like, I would just find some things in here, like I should mention Redis cluster. That makes sense. I mean, most likely you're going to if you're writing about Redis. Some other things here, like what does Redis do and what it doesn't. I mean, that could be cool to like AI write some stuff in there. So what if we do that? Yeah, it's just kind of, again, it kind of just keeps doing the really high level overview. It has a hard time digging deeper, it seems. And I think this is kind of true of most of these AI tools, especially when it comes to this technical content. Like, it gets the surface level fairly well, but it has a really hard time going into the specifics, which you'd actually want to do if you were, writing for a pretty savvy audience like software developers. But I mean, I could definitely see some value here. I could see the value in kind of optimizing my content. I can see the value in like looking at the SERPs and then grabbing these H1s, 2s, and 3s and stuff from each to kind of figure out how to build my outline for an article. Especially if you're writing SEO driven content. And then I could see the value a little bit of the writer, the AI writer, at least from when you're doing easier article like roundups, listicles. You're doing maybe really short comparisons of things, but it seems to break down when it gets into really like deeper technical topics. It doesn't seem to quite get it. And so, I mean, not too surprised by that. I think that's true of all the other tools too. So, but Frase looks really neat. I think I could see using this and figuring out. They've done a nice job of making the experience really good for people who are SEO writers. So they kind of knew who their target audience was here. So I think that wraps us up for today. I hope you enjoyed this overview of the AI writing tools, writing software that's out there today. We went over some a pretty good range of tools, varying degrees of success with them. And there's going to be a companion article to this video as well. So if you like the video and you want just a quick overview to share around, there'll be a accompanying blog post. If you ever have questions, let me know. What we do at Draft.dev is we write technical content like this. And so I'm super interested in these AI writers because it could save us in the future a lot of time. It could allow us to cut our costs significantly. And it could help our clients who are a little more not ready to work with us do this themselves a little easier. And ultimately, I want more great technical content out in the world, regardless of whether we write it or you write it or you hire freelancers who write it. I think it's a great thing to be able to do this. I don't think the AI tools are here where they're going to be replacing real software engineers writing technical content. I think for maybe some higher level business content, you can start to get a little bit of help. You can probably get some help with inspiration of ideas. You can probably get some help building outlines using these tools. But I don't think we're quite ready to like replace the higher end of freelance copywriters with AI tools. I will say though that I think what these tools will do is they will sort of push lower end writers to get better or to use these tools or to move on to something else, because it's clear that if I've worked with plenty of writers who are very like low quality, cheap content writers online, and many of them do stuff much worse than what I could generate in about an hour with one of these tools. So I would say that if you're on that low end of the pay scale for writing and you're struggling to even get clients there, you're going to have to up your skills. Like AI is going to push the minimum bar for writers up a bit. And I think that's a good thing. We all know that Google and other search engines are prioritizing better writing overall. So something to keep in mind anyway. I hope this was helpful. Thanks again for watching.